Welcome to the Ripple Podcast.
The podcast where we tell you stories about strange and unusual events and the ripples they create.
AKA the story after the story.
I'm Rosa.
And I'm Angela.
And this is the Ripple Podcast.
Get Ripple, the bright new drink with that ring-a-ding flavor, Ripple.
We're recording for the 40th time.
Is that, are we going?
Yeah.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Why? Why is it so difficult? I don't understand.
I think I need to take a class in setting up microphones and headphones because...
Promo code RIPPLE for Skillshare. Learn how to podcast.
No, I need to learn.
I know. You can take a class through Skillshare. Maybe they'll sponsor us since we're in the double digits of subscribers now.
Woohoo!
Up from 9 to
23? Yeah.
Wow, look at us. We're pretty much famous.
We're like signing autographs.
It's hard to go outside in public, you know.
Just mauled everywhere we go.
Absolutely.
Did you say you had some housekeeping?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me? I mean, we can do that now or we can do that when we get to my story. It doesn't matter.
Kind of.
It does. Okay. So I'll tell you this, and this isn't giving away anything from my story, but so I found the person that I was going to do my story on and I Googled her name, and I swear it's like that creepy thing when your phone is listening to what you're saying and then it like caters its results to your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the two links that came up, the first one was an ASMR video of a person telling this story.
Oh, okay.
And then the second one was an EVP.
Oh.
Which are the two acronyms of things that we can never remember. Actually, I don't think I've ever known what they stand for.
EVP, that's what it is.
Yeah. We figured that much out.
No, but I couldn't. We were called it EPT, and I mean, we got the letters all mixed up.
What is EPT? Error-proof pregnancy test or something?
Early pregnancy test.
Error-proof. I'm an idiot. All right, but I was just going to tell you what those things stood for.
Oh, tell me.
Okay, so ASMR is when people talk like this. So when I was looking at my story, I found a whole video of someone telling me the true crime story.
Stop it! I don't like it.
Like this.
Remember, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Like, people listen to people whispering.
Right, but I couldn't remember whether it was ASMR or AMSR, but it is ASMR.
And what's it stand for?
Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. And it's when an autosensory meridian response, which is a tingling sensation that typically begins at your scalp and moves down the back of your neck.
Oh, like when you get the shivers.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And people like that, and they'll go and find videos
to give
of
them
things.
The shivers.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, I don't like that feeling.
Well, I feel like it would wear off really quick. Like I feel like I would hear something and it would give me the shivers, and then like I'm not going to keep listening for the next however many minutes
to get 400 more shivers.
Yeah,
that's weird.
They keep getting those hits, hits of the shivers. But yeah, so it's whispering. Other people like sounds of hair being brushed, nail tapping.
Can I make a lot of money like brushing my hair?
Dude,
and
there's
recording it?
Some videos on there that have so many subscribers. Like,
seriously?
Maybe we should just do our entire podcast like that. Should we just start whispering?
No, I can't listen to that nonsense.
But we would be so famous.
No,
it would be a hit.
I can't do it.
You can tell your story, and I'll just make mouth sounds like.
If you do that, oh my gosh.
I went down a rabbit hole. There's people doing horrible. All kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, so that's ASMR. The more you know. The other thing.
How's that sound go? With the shooting star.
With the rainbow star.
Uh-huh.
The more you know. I don't remember what sound it makes. Yeah. Like that right there. You just drank your coffee. That mouth noise.
People like it.
They love it.
Or they hate
it. Shit. I don't know.
Or they hate it if they're like me.
And they hate it?
Yeah.
That's a thing, too. There's, like, a name for that, because Adam has that. We did the 23andMe.
Uh-huh.
Did yours come back with that trait? I forgot what it's called, but, like, people who hate the sound of chewing and they're like really annoyed by mouth sounds.
Nick is that way.
You're not?
Not normally. I mean, if I'm listening to it on like a recording, then yes. But if I'm in a room with someone that's...
Yeah, I remember.
Well, there is this one person I know, and he, a lot when he eats or drinks.
Yeah.
And that kind of is
really?
like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like over the top and you're being gross, then yeah. But for the most part, I don't even notice it.
Oh.
But I remember one time we were watching, we like went to the movies or something and got Milk Duds. And I still had a box of Milk Duds driving home. And I'm just sitting in the passenger seat eating my Milk Duds and just chomping away. And Adam's like, you need to stop.
Because it was all sticky, probably. You're like...
Yeah, I totally was.
Well, Nick has told me before, Rosa, do you have to swallow that loud? Like when I'm drinking. Like I swallow really loud when I'm drinking.
I've never noticed that.
I don't know.
I'm probably the same way. I don't know.
Speaking of drinking, I have a drink for you.
I could not think of a drink that would go along with this theme.
Grab a couple cups up there.
You're hiding something from me. I'm
I am
scared.
because I have to make it again for you.
Okay. Do you want shot glasses or cup
No,
cups?
cups. Like, yeah. So this is from Starbucks.
Oh, God. Now I'm drinking out of your coffee cup.
It's not coffee, though.
Oh. It's another urine-colored drink. Why? Why do you do this?
It's my favorite color. Isn't it pretty?
It's
so if you wanted to order this yourself, if you really love it, it's called a medicine ball.
Oh.
Have you ever had that before from Starbucks?
No.
So it's half lemonade and then half like boiling water, for tea.
Okay.
And so it's a hot drink, obviously.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 different kinds of tea. It's like a mint tea and a herbal citrus tea. And then there's honey
Yum.
in it.
Do they put that in for you, or do you have to put that in?
They put it all in. And then I asked them to add peppermint.
Oh, okay.
Some people have added, like, because I wanted to, I ordered it by mistake. And then I loved it, and then I wanted to see how to make it myself.
How did you accidentally order that?
I wanted a mint tea. And she's like, have you ever tried da-da-da-da-da? And I was like, no, I don't know what you said, but sounds good. I'll take your word for it.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm like, oh, this is really good. So I read the little sticker on it later. And then Starbucks won't do this part for you. But this is Jim Beam honey. So you need that added
This
to it.
is, like, pretty nostalgic. I mean, I haven't tasted it yet, but I feel like this is my childhood.
Like something Dad would
Anytime you
make
got
for
sick.
us?
Yeah, or Grandma.
Okay, so you need to try it because it's like filled to the brim.
Yeah, I might smell this on the way over. Are we dinking? Okay. There's some ASMR for you. That's really good.
I know. It's my new favorite drink at Starbucks.
That's really, really good. That tastes the way Body Shop smells, but in a good way.
Well, it depends on what time of the year you're going to the body shop.
Well, I guess I don't go often enough to know their seasons, but yeah, that's
yummy?
tasty. It's herbally and
minty,
sweet, and I don't taste any Jack Daniels in it, which is a little scary, but it's really good. So does this relate to your story?
Somewhat.
Okay.
And I'll. It's very, very vague, but I stretched it for sure.
Okay. Cool. Well, let me tell you what EVPs are.
Okay.
And then,
I'm sorry. I totally interrupted you.
Oh, no. It's totally fine. And then we are doing our stories. I think you're first this week, yeah?
Am I? Sure. I take your word for it.
What did we talk about last week? Was that the mythical creature?
Yes.
Okay. So then, yeah,
Kraken.
you are first.
Okay. You
are first this week. So EVPs. Electronic Voice Phenomenon. It's a little ghost hunting device, and it allows human-sounding voices from unknown sources to be recorded on an audio tape. So I guess you just have this thing recording, and then you go back and you listen to it, and you have to sometimes amplify it and filter it, and then you'll hear ghosts.
Where do we get that? I want one of those.
Probably Amazon.com.
Okay.
It's my guess.
Not sponsored.
Offer code RIPPLE.
I mean, you've heard of this for
Oh,
sure.
I have?
Yeah, you totally have.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get to it pretty quick, but I'm gonna set the scene first. So it takes place in Bethesda.
You just practiced saying this before, and I already forgot how it sounded.
And you made a rhyme for me.
Yeah, it was like the best
Vespa.
Bethesda.
Bethesda, Maryland. So
Nailed it, I'm sure.
Bethesda, it's an upscale, affluent community. It's super safe.
Affluent.
There's lots of shopping in like fancy stores. So like looking at pictures and kind of like hearing what they say about it, it totally reminds me of like State Street in Santa Barbara. You know, like places we can't afford. It's beautiful.
Way too many people on bicycles.
Well, and it's just super fancy, like celebrity status. So there is a store manager, and this is now March 12th, 2011. She's walking in to open her store. It's Lululemon, by the way. Do you know this story?
Of course I know this story.
And
are you kidding me?
She walks in at 8 a.m. to open the shop, and what she saw, obviously, was super shocking. The door was unlocked, which was like a first red flag. There was a TV knocked over. There were clothes everywhere. There was blood on the floor. And she kind of hears like this faint moaning sound. So she runs outside super fast to call 911 because she's like, I am not going any further. Like, this is freaking me out. I'm not going. So while she's on the phone with 911 and waiting for them to show up, there's this other guy that walks by, just, you know, a passerby, and he notices that she's just in total panic mode. And he's like, okay, listen, it's okay. I'll go in, I'm going to go check it out, and I'll come back and let you know what I find.
I would never do that.
No, and I don't think I would want him to either.
I would be scared. I'd be like, you can wait for the cops.
The cops are on their way.
Yep.
Yeah. But he goes in.
He's very brave.
And he sees that there's receipts on the floor, the cash registers, and the safes are open. There's no money inside. And he's like, oh my gosh, they've totally been robbed.
Okay.
And he walks inside, and the further back he goes, the more and more blood he sees. It's just like getting from like little spatters to like super heavy blood.
That's when you stop. That's when you turn around and go out.
Going. And he goes into this like back hallway, and he sees all this blood kind of trailing from underneath a door, and he kind of like goes to open the door, but it's kind of like there's something heavy up against it, so he kind of pushes it, and he peeks inside, and there he sees Jana Murray, who was just 30 years old, and she was most obviously deceased. So he freaks out himself, and he tries to leave.
Then he freaks out at that point. Okay.
And he's like, I'm out of here. But then as he's walking out, he hears that same moaning sound that the manager had heard, and he discovers that it's 28-year-old Brittany Norwood. She was tied up, her legs or her feet and her hands with zip ties. She had cuts all over her face and her chest and her stomach, and there was a huge gash in her forehead. So she's just like beat up herself, like moaning, can't get up, won't open her eyes. And so he's out of there. So before I go too much further, I'm going to give you a little backstory on both of those girls.
Okay.
So Jana Murray, the deceased, she was born in Kansas. She grew up in Texas. She came from a great family. She had a military dad. He actually did 2 tours in Vietnam. She was an amazing athlete. She set a bunch of records for discus throwing. After college, she went on to Johns Hopkins to get her MBA. And she actually wrote her thesis on the Lululemon business model.
Wow. I had no, like, I've heard about this. I had no idea that she was that, like, established.
Yeah,
she makes it,
much worse.
Yeah.
So she actually wanted to work at Lululemon because she thought they had such a good business model, and she, was doing her thesis on it. So she kind of wanted to get hands-on learning.
Yeah.
She was like, living it.
They have convinced women to pay hundreds of dollars for
a pair of
fucking
yoga pants.
leggings.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly they're doing something right.
So she finishes her master's degree, but she's like, you know what? I like the girls I work with. I like my job. My hours are good. She probably got a smoking discount. And she's going to be like, I'm going to finish working at Lululemon while this semester finishes out. And Brittany Norwood, she grew up in a small town in Washington State. She was one of 9 children. Her family didn't have a lot of money, but they were super hard workers. Almost all of her siblings graduated from college.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
1 out of 9, that's huge, yeah.
Wait, no.
That they all graduated college, yeah. Is that what you're saying?
No, but you said 1 out of 9. 9 out of 9.
Right. Almost all of them graduated
no,
college.
I see what you're saying. She was 1 out of 9.
She was one of 9 children.
But yeah, that is super impressive.
So she herself got a scholarship to attend Stony Brook University in New York to play soccer. So she was a great athlete as well. And her goal in life was to become a personal trainer. And she took the job at Lululemon because there was a fitness studio right around the corner that she was kind of hoping to get her foot in the door.
Oh,
so it
smart.
was kind of convenience, but also Lululemon's, athletic wear.
Right. And you could meet people and they could potentially be your
boss
your
or
training.
coworker.
No, but they're your clients. Like,
Well,
if you become a personal trainer, you could, like,
totally
get the hookup there.
So both of them, had, it wasn't just like it was a job for now, but they both had goals.
Right.
So the 2 girls were working that night together. They were closing the store, and they both left the store around 9:45. Brittany discovered that she had left her wallet back at the store, and she needed it to get home because it had, like, her Metro card in there.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, I'm stuck. If I don't have my wallet, I can't get home. So she really quickly called Jaina, since Jaina had the key to the store. And Gina's like, no worries, I'll meet you back there. I actually forgot something myself, so I'll be there in just a couple minutes. So the girls meet, and they went into the store but couldn't find the wallet. And Jaina actually offered Brittany, like, here's my Metro card. Just take it for the night. You're good. We'll find your wallet tomorrow. No big deal. But when they were leaving the store, they all of a sudden noticed that they didn't lock the door behind them when they were looking for the wallet. And that's when Brittany says that a man punched Jaina while another man grabbed Brittany from behind.
So they were already in the store?
They were in the store looking for the wallet. And they were about to leave.
Sorry, I meant the
men?
guy. Yeah.
I don't know if the men, there's 2 guys. I don't know if they came in right then, like as they were leaving and kind of rushed them, or if they were in the store and hiding.
Because the door was
unlocked.
open.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So the men separated the 2 girls, and Brittany's, she's telling this story from the hospital, and she said that she could just hear Jaina screaming and yelling.
Oh, Jesus.
And the man that had Brittany was demanding that she get the money from the store and threatened to slit her throat if she made any noise.
Lovely.
So, once the guy has the money, Brittany tells about him dragging her into the back bathroom, and he just takes out, like, a knife and starts slashing at her body with the knife, and then he sexually assaulted her.
Ugh.
And then Brittany goes, she's like, I just blacked out, and she doesn't recall anything until she's back in the ambulance. So Jaina had been attacked and murdered, and she suffered at least 331 wounds from various weapons.
Wow, that is overkill.
A little bit, right?
That is literal overkill.
331. And it was various weapons. So it wasn't just like one knife, but there was a knife, there was a hammer, there was a wrench, a rope, a box cutter, and all of those things were left scattered around her body.
So they would have to stop, grab the next thing, do that for a bit,
grab a hammer,
stop. That's insane.
Yeah, it's really bad, really. And there's some pictures.
I don't want to see them.
It's intense.
There's actually pictures?
Yeah.
I'm shocked because this isn't that long ago. And
no.
normally when you hear about crime scene pictures, they're like, from back in the 70s or,
Oh, no.
or way, way
No,
older.
there's a lot of pictures.
Wow.
A lot.
That's disturbing.
So when being interviewed, Brittany gives the description of the men, but it's super vague, and she just can't remember a whole lot. She says that one of them is slightly taller than the other one. They were both wearing black, all black, head to toe, but their voices sounded to be white males. And the crime scene confirmed Brittany's story. They actually found 2 sets of shoe prints that had tracked blood. One set was Brittany's, and the other was a men's size 14. And the police pulled surveillance footage from one of the surrounding stores and saw that there were 2 men that fit Brittany's description walking around the back of the Lululemon around the time of the attack.
So Lululemon itself didn't have cameras?
No security
I'm
footage.
shocked by that, actually. Because I feel like that's a place that would be hit up to rob.
Well, and especially when you're in a really high-end area like that. They're right next door to the Apple store. Yeah, that's
I would think so.
Big money.
I mean, Lululemon, people sell that shit used on Poshmark for like fucking $75 a pair of leggings.
Oh, yeah.
Something that somebody's sweat their ass off in.
Literally.
In Pilates, and here you go, $75 for my used yoga pants.
Yeah. So the police were able to interview employees from that Apple store that I had mentioned that's like right around the corner. And they were working late because the very next day, the next morning, the iPad 2 was being released. So they had a bunch of employees working late that night. They hadn't seen anything suspicious, but there was an employee that says that she did hear some strange noises that sounded like something heavy was being moved around, and then she heard screaming.
Ooh.
And then she's like, hey, she calls like her boss and some other employees like, hey, do you guys hear what I hear? And they actually go as far to like press their ears against the wall to listen to what is happening in there.
Did they hear anything?
They totally did. They totally did. They actually even heard a female voice saying, oh God, please help me. And then another female voice going, just talk to me.
And that's when they called the police, and the police arrived immediately, and they stopped everything, and everyone was okay?
And that's when the manager said, oh, it's just girl drama. Let's get back to work.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how they feel now.
It's got to be really tough for them. But at the same time, that's why 911 is there. That's why you need to pick up the phone. And if you know what, like, nothing horrible is happening, oh, well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's there for.
I can't imagine.
This is like your crimes that created things story. You know what I mean? Crimes that changed lives.
The Kitty Genevieve?
Yes.
Yes.
It totally is.
The 911 call.
And we talked about during that case, like, oh, I can't imagine that happening today, because of course you would call. Because
right. There's no question about it. You would think.
Isn't it kind of ironic that they're in an Apple store, which is like the latest and greatest of personal technology?
And there's 400 phones for them to choose from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could text them.
Yeah, it was horrible. So obviously the whole community is super shook up. There's 2 random men that come into the store to rob it. They end up killing one girl. They leave the other girl barely alive. Everyone is scared to work at night. Their little like safe area is now just leaving them to like left to live in fear because of these men. And the 2 men, the wearing all black, they were actually quickly identified by the police because they had that footage and they showed it around. And they were actually busboys walking home after their shift.
Oh,
and not murderers.
And they wear all black typically, especially at a nice restaurant.
Because they're busboys.
Yeah.
They wear black. So it wasn't them. That was just a strange coincidence. And sorry. What?
I just realized that your drink is called Medicine Ball. I just figured out why you have Medicine Ball as the drink.
Really? Because I don't know. Wait,
really? You didn't do this intentionally?
Not the medicine ball.
Because it's like a workout thing. A medicine ball, the big heavy ball.
Oh, I didn't even think about that part.
I totally thought that's why you did it.
I did it because there's lemonade in it, like Lululemon.
Oh.
But I could have totally done like a medicine ball too, because it's like exercising.
I thought it was just really
I
just figured it out now.
I still didn't figure it out after you said that. That's really funny.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. So like things are starting to look out weird. Like the two guys aren't really murderers. They're the bus boys. The employees, the Apple employees that, did absolutely nothing, they never heard a man's voice. They just heard two women talking.
I mean, I can understand that, though, because the guy's not going to want to make a lot of noise because he's attacking, and he's probably going to try to make her...
talk and scream?
No. He's going to try to keep her quiet to not be heard.
Okay. All right. Let's go with that. But now the shoes. Remember the shoes?
I remember the shoes.
The size 14.
Those are really big feet.
Huge
feet.
So they left those footprints, all around the store. They also left the size 14s in the store.
Well, maybe they didn't want to track blood into their car.
So they just take off their shoes and walk out.
Quick and quiet, stealthy getaway.
So the investigators, they didn't find just the shoe tracks. They actually found those exact same pair of shoes. And they were put back on a shelf and cleaned up. They were like, okay, that's weird. So they ask another store manager about the shoes, and she's like, oh yeah, those shoes are always in the store. We use them when we're, tailoring someone's pants so they fit correctly when they're wearing workout shoes. Because they must have like a bunch of different shoes, and, if you come in wearing, I don't know, flip-flops, and you want your leggings to fit right,
here,
Rosa,
get
them hemmed.
You're a size 6. Put on these men's size 14 shoes so we know where your leggings are going to hit.
Well, none of them hit me. I'm only 5 feet tall.
Oh, no.
So.
I have to roll the bottoms of my leggings up. I did that just this morning.
And then also the tools that had been used to inflict those 331 wounds on Jaina, they actually all came from inside the store. So if you're thinking like there's two men that are going to come and rob a place, you would think they'd be somewhat prepared, right?
Maybe they didn't imagine encountering anyone. They're like, hey, this is when the store closes.
Okay, fine. Giving them the benefit of the doubt. Now let's talk about Jaina's car.
Okay.
So she drove that to meet Brittany back at the store. She was in her car. She flipped it around. She parked in a spot that she wasn't supposed to park in because she was just going to run in really quickly and run back out.
Got it.
But that car was found 3 blocks away in a parking garage.
Weird.
And then it had some strange stuff inside. There was a bunch of blood like on the gear shift. There was some blood on the steering wheel. And there was a Lululemon hat in the back of the car that had blood on the sweatband part. I guess that's what you call it. Like, right where your forehead kind of hits that spot.
Yeah, by the visor.
So the blood matched Jaina and Brittany.
So he took their car.
And,
her car.
Right. So a little bit more about Brittany now. So the reason that she left college back in 2003, remember she got that scholarship to play soccer?
Scholarship.
She left actually because she was kicked out.
Uh-oh.
She was caught stealing from her teammates, classmates, and her roommate.
A little klepto.
And then she actually had a job working at a different Lululemon before this one, and she was let go from that one for stealing as well.
I'm surprised she was able to get another Lululemon job.
I
would think that they would talk to each other.
Checked, or maybe she didn't write it down.
You mean they don't have a master Lululemon database to check these people?
They might now. So the night of the murder, the Lululemon store manager received a call from Jaina, and she said that she had found Brittany shoplifting in their store.
Uh-oh.
And the store has a policy, and a lot of stores I know have this, like you get your bag checked before you leave. Like whoever the manager on staff that night looks through to make sure you're not stealing stuff.
Or you have to, some places, you have to bring in a clear bag.
Right. And they just give it a quick once over before you go. Well, apparently there was some stuff in Brittany's bag that she had not paid for.
Sticky fingers, Brittany. When will you learn?
You know? So all of this is kind of like, the police are like, okay, this is red flag number 47. Like, we need to ask a few more questions. So they call the doctors that treated Brittany for her wounds that evening. And the doctors, the reports say that there were some small lacerations, some scratches, maybe even self-inflicted wounds. And they also say that there was no proof of a sexual assault that Brittany had reported.
And she said that she was?
She said she was sexually assaulted.
Oh.
So they call Brittany in and they're like, okay, if this is the chick that did this horrible thing, we need to catch her in a lie. So they call her in and they're asking her a bunch of questions, and the interviewer is like, hey, by the way, do you know what kind of car Jana drove? And she's like, no, I've seen it maybe once. I don't really know. And he's like, okay, well, has she ever given you a ride in it, or have you ever driven it? And she's like, no, never. I've never been in her car.
Idiot.
So the police is like, okay, well, how did your blood get in there then? I mean, they didn't say that because Jana doesn't know.
Right.
But what happened was, when Brittany called Jana to ask her to come back to the store to look for her wallet, Jana had driven her car and parked out, like I said, parked in that, like, timer parking.
Yep.
And so Brittany moved the car because she was worried that, like, the police were going to come and, maybe come into the store. So obviously it left her DNA in the car, and then she came back and staged the whole robbery. So the police are working on a warrant now to arrest Brittany because, she murdered her coworker.
So fucking crazy.
And, they're, like, literally typing out the warrant, and Brittany just happens to walk back in the police station. And she's like, hey, you know what? I was thinking about this a little bit more. Like, you mentioned that car. And you know what? I totally forgot, but I actually did drive it, the night of the murder. I totally forgot.
She blocked it out, probably.
Uh-huh.
From the trauma.
And she's like, but I was forced to drive the car.
Oh, conveniently forgot about that part of the crime.
The robbers said, like, I had to drive the car away. And then
come back.
Right. Exactly. And this is a quote from Brittany, and she goes, prior to him sexually assaulting me and zip tying me, they made me move her car. And the cop's like, dude, I just read the doctor's report. You weren't sexually assaulted. Like, he's like, I've got you now. So, and he's just letting her talk. So she says that she was told to move the car, and no one else went with her. It was just her, her driving the car. And they were going to be like, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to watch you drive that car for 3 blocks and then park it in a garage. And then you better come back here or else I'm going to kill you.
But why did they want her to move the car?
Well, yeah, good question.
I need to know that.
Uh-huh. And why wouldn't you just keep driving? What are they going to do? Run after you in their barefoot, size 14s? So, and then the cop's like, oh, so, you walked back those 3 blocks, but you're bleeding from the forehead and you didn't pass any people on the street and ask for help, or they didn't offer to help you because you're bleeding everywhere? And she's like, oh, no, I saw people, but everyone just kept walking.
Oh, yeah.
So, obviously, after this
if they worked at the Apple store, they may have.
Well, yeah, there's that. So, after that crazy addition to her story, obviously, they arrest Brittany. And then after 7 months, on October 26, 2011, Brittany Norwood's murder trial began. She was originally charged with first-degree murder, which would have brought her a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. But her defense, actually surprised everyone and said, hey, yeah, Brittany did kill Jada. It's not Jada, it's Jana. My phone or my computer spell checked it.
Sure.
And so the defense is like, it shouldn't be first degree murder, though. It should be second degree because she didn't plan this murder. It was just something that happened and Brittany just lost it. So if she got charged with second-degree murder, it means that her sentence could be as short as 15 years.
No.
So it's all based on the premeditation and...
Well, yeah, she made up the entire story.
Well, but what was her reason for killing her is what it comes down to. And they couldn't bring the whole evidence of the accusing of shoplifting because that was just hearsay from the other store manager.
Wait, what? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because she hadn't written her up yet?
There was no, like, written proof. It was like that manager's like, Jana called me just this evening to say that she had caught Brittany shoplifting, but it was just her word against Brittany's.
That's insane.
So that totally couldn't be used in court.
Wow, so if she would have left her a voicemail, it would have changed.
Or a text message. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Jana,
I don't know about any of this part.
So Jana lived through all 330 of the injuries. Like, she was alive.
I didn't know that either.
Every single one of them, except for the last blow to her head. And it was with a knife to the back of her neck.
Oh my God.
And it just, like, severed, like, her
spinal cord or something.
The attack, they assume lasted over 15 minutes. And one of the sources I was reading, it said that actually the judge went home and beat on like a desk or something 330 times just to see how long that would take.
That would hurt your hand after a while.
Well, and that's like, you would stop, you would think. Like, you would come to and go, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
And
wake up.
And yeah, that's just, it's like I said, it is complete and total overkill.
Oh, and it made some of like the most, established people in the field like sick to their stomach seeing what happened to this poor girl because they'd never seen something so horrific before.
Imagine doing anything that many times, like clapping your hands that many times. Mm-hmm. That would take forever.
That's a lot.
Your hands would be sore.
331. And they're saying that some of it is, because the injuries actually overlapped each other, it could have even been more.
Ugh.
So the judge is like, nope, sorry, like, you're getting guilty and you're getting it a first degree.
Yeah.
So she got sentenced to life without parole.
Good.
So I have a little ripple. I was actually hoping for more, and maybe there's more that I just don't know about. But Lululemon, they put up like this beautiful stained glass window above their store, and it was it had like the word love all in script above it, and it was her tribute
so it's
window.
Still a Lululemon store.
It's not. Up in like recently it just changed. So Lululemon is going to be moved to a new location. And
but how long was it a Lululemon store after this had happened?
Oh, a while.
That's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that they would close up shop like immediately after, because that is just, everyone who walks in there is going to know about it. I don't know. Maybe
no, because remember the place in Tio where that woman got murdered?
No.
Yeah, in the mall.
Her ex.
Came in and shot her.
Yeah.
They kept that place open.
What was that?
Like
department store?
Like a Hallmarky type store.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean they left. I mean, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of strange.
Wrong. It feels weird.
Yeah, but so Lululemon, they were moving locations, and they said that window didn't like really like match like the style that they were going for anymore in this new location. So they offered to take it down and mail it to Jana's brother. And since Jana had been murdered, he had 3 children, and I guess like he talks to his children all the time about his sister. And there's a quote that says, "We definitely want to preserve that window and have it in our home." So the love window, it was sent to him, and they have it in their house, and it's just a constant reminder, like, to love each other and be kind, and, you know, Jaina just lives on through her family.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's sweet.
Yeah, it was a horrible story.
It really is. And I remember hearing this a while ago. I don't know where I heard it, but I've heard this story a few times. And it's insane to think, like, okay, what time did that store close about? Probably around 10 or so when they were there.
9:45 is when they walked out. Mm-hmm.
And for her to sit there, fake tied up,
until the next morning. Mm-hmm.
In her blood, in her coworker's blood, with a body. She could get up and walk out at any time, but to hold on to that story and to just lay there.
Well, she zip-tied herself. And it was so funny, like, one reporter even goes, like, because when they found her, and you can see a picture of her, like, on the floor.
Oh, okay, that one I kind of do want to see.
And her arms are raised up over her head, right?
Oh, so she could just put them down?
She could have put her arms down at any time. Nothing was holding her arms up in that position. But she chose to, like, probably flip them up really quickly before someone got in there.
What an idiot. I hate her.
Oh, she's horrible.
I hate her.
She's
so
horrible,
much.
horrible person. And the interviews with her, like, she doesn't even seem concerned.
No. I remember hearing, I think it was when she was being interrogated and they had a recording in the room, and I want to say, like, her brother or something.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you read about that?
Uh-huh.
And how she's talking to him about it, like, all casually.
Yeah.
And like, oh, just go along with my story.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to tell you anything here. They might be listening. And he's like, no, there's no cameras in here. There's no recordings.
Oh,
I looked.
Good for him.
Well, no, I don't know if he was like...
Oh.
Yeah, and he's like, because he's telling her how to lie.
Really? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was like...
Well, I mean, it's his baby sister, so he's obviously trying to protect her, but at the same time, he's trying to get her out of it.
Well, I'm just going to go on record right now, since we're being recorded, that if you stab somebody 300 and something times and then lay in their blood and wait for however many hours for somebody to find you and think that you're a victim, I'm not going to support you. Sorry.
That's okay. I would be angry if you did. Like, yeah. It's sick. The whole story is just... Like, you think about it, this poor girl was killed over a pair of yoga pants.
That's disgusting. That is so, so disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's really sweet that they made the stained glass and everything.
And I have heard that, like, the parents have put up some scholarships and stuff.
Oh, that's really awesome.
But I didn't find enough information. I'm sure there's other good things that have come out of this horrible tragedy. But the window, I just thought was special that they wanted to make sure, they're tearing down a building or remodeling a building or whatever, and they don't want to just trash it. They took the time to
that is really nice.
Carefully remove it and mail it to the family.
Yeah.
I want to tell you my sources before I forget. So I did, I read some stuff from NBCWashington.com news, the Oxygen.com channel. I guess they did a whole series on this story. I probably searched for a good 30 minutes trying to watch this. I don't know if they've removed it or you'll have to subscribe, because you can watch a bunch of the other ones, but I could not find this one. But they had some text that I read.
Yeah.
But then I found a show called Snapped, and it's all about women that have just...
I remember the show.
There's a bunch of episodes. So it's on Amazon. I had to buy the episode, but I watched it, and that's where I got a lot of information. So that's from Snapped. I got info from WashingtonPost.com, DailyMail.com, and then I listened to an episode of Morbid that talked
they
about
did that?
Mm-hmm, they did a great job.
Oh, they're really good.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. So.
Cool. Well, good job.
That's my horrible story.
Yeah, that's awful. Absolutely terrible. So here's to the Lululemon medicine ball.
Cheers.
Wow.
All right, tell me your story.
Okay, so I too went with a real retail crime instead of a big box crime, which is kind of what this topic got transformed into. So I just want to put it out there because I might do this another time. When I was looking for big box crimes, I initially searched like, okay, so there's Target, there's Walmart, there's Sears. So of course I immediately went to Walmart stories. And I sent you a text about this too. And I found so many amazing stories about meth labs in Walmart in all different shapes and sizes. And I really, really wanted to do a story about Walmart meth.
There's also ghost children in Walmart. Remember that?
Yeah, they're in the Oxnard Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the whole story about that, but apparently there's a ghost child. And
We'll
I've seen
have to
video of it.
revisit that episode.
Well, maybe next time we do retail crimes, I can do my Walmart meth lab.
And I'll do my
story.
ghost children.
Yeah. But I mean, I found so many stories, but none of them really had like a great beginning, middle, and end. It was just like, hey, there's a meth lab in a backpack in Walmart.
The end.
So Rosa actually sent me another one that I am going to tell you about. And this is about pizza delivery. And after reading this, I am convinced that like being a pizza delivery person is probably one of the most dangerous jobs. It's insane. Like, if you just think about it on the surface level,
you're knocking on strangers' doors all night long.
And exchanging money, and usually it's late at night, and usually you're by yourself.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
You've got cash on you, and you're just maybe going through a private gate.
Isn't it funny, too? It always says, like, driver doesn't carry over $100. And
yeah.
And I'm like, if you have 4 pizzas, that's over $100.
I think, because I investigated this, it's like $20 in change per order. If that makes sense. So they don't carry a lot of money. And I found that out. So really quick, let me run down a few pizza crimes that happened just in 2015 alone. And it's 2015 because that's the date of the article that I read. So I don't have any more current. It was 5 years ago. It's okay. So in Kentucky, a pizza guy was carjacked and stabbed in the back upon arrival of his drop-off address. But he still successfully delivered the pizza.
Oh, gosh. Does he get Employee of the Month at least?
Do you eat that pizza?
Ew. I don't know. I know you don't.
Because, I mean, you probably have a bleeding guy on your doorstep.
No, you don't.
Okay. I mean, if you don't eat it, it's kind of like he did that in vain, you know? Like, you've got to eat it out of respect.
Oh, sure.
Okay. A female Domino's delivery driver in the Bay Area was robbed at gunpoint and then taken to an isolated location and sexually assaulted.
Oh.
Nothing funny about that. In Maryland, a driver was swarmed by 4 guys with machetes.
Whoa.
And one of them pressed the machete against his throat until he gave up his cash, which we now know was probably not over $100.
Oh, they probably took some pizza, too.
Yeah, probably. A Domino's driver was shot to death in New Orleans at the end of March, and then a second Domino's driver was killed just 6 months later.
Whoa.
In the same spot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, crazy. An Alabama driver was beaten within an inch of his life for less than $20.
Oh.
Yeah. A driver in Houston was attacked by 2 armed men, but he managed to quick draw his own weapon and shoot his attackers and walk away unharmed.
That's cool.
Because Texas. So tonight, I'm telling you a story that is about a Domino's worker specifically. And her name was Sherry Irely. She was 18 years old, and she was from Salem, Oregon. And this story starts on July 4th, 1982.
Okay, 4th of July.
4th of
Big
July.
Parties.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of pizza being ordered. So a man was driving home with his sons, and the man and his sons they were out celebrating 4th of July, and they had attended a fireworks show. And when he was driving home from watching the show, the man came across a car parked in the middle of the road with the engine running and the lights on. So he's like, what the heck? You know, like, you're blocking my way. So upon further investigation, he realized that this is like a Domino's pizza delivery vehicle. And he saw that there's pizza just like strewn across the road. So that's never a good sign.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So he calls the police, and when they arrive, because obviously he doesn't have a cell phone. It's 1982.
Oh,
so he probably had to drive somewhere. Call the police. The police show up. The car's still there. The lights are still on. The engine is still running.
Whoa.
The doors open, and there's no one there. The driver can't be found. The pizzas are like all over the place. And initially the police are like, okay, it's 4th of July. It's probably a bunch of dumb teenagers. They're drinking whatever. And
Throwing
they just,
pizza.
yeah, exactly. But then when they're looking around, they find a Domino's hat in the bushes, and that's when they start to notice that there's actually drag marks from the vehicle to the bushes because they were on a gravel road. And that's when they're like, okay, this is something more sinister. The police also found a name tag with the name Sherry on it. And when they contacted the local Domino's, they were informed that the car belonged to Sherry Irely.
And she hadn't returned.
And she had not returned.
Okay. This isn't going well.
Okay, due to these circumstances, at the scene, the police believed that there was foul play involved. While investigating further, the police also found a boot print on a pizza box and then also a tire track on a pizza box.
Okay.
So somebody clearly drove away from the scene. Okay, now let's head over to Domino's. The Domino's manager said that Sherry was an absolutely just excellent worker. She'd worked for Domino's for only about a month, which is really, really sad. And she had agreed to come in on the 4th of July even though she wasn't scheduled to work. She was actually filling in for another girl who had called out because she wanted to go to a party that night. Which, like...
She was doing something nice for someone else.
Yeah, and it's like an extra element of like, oh, this is so bad. So, at 9:30, the manager had received a call for delivery. The person calling said that his name was Dunbar, and he had asked for 3 Destroyer pizzas, which I was going to look up what the hell a Destroyer pizza was, but I forgot to do that, so I don't know. I just imagine it's like all of the meats and all of the cheeses.
Yeah, that's not a good name for food.
No, it's not.
Like, it's going to destroy your gut.
Yeah, and you're going to destroy the toilet, exactly. So... And when he was making his order, he asked the manager to hold for a second because he wanted to talk to somebody who was like off in the background. And then just before he hung up, he said that he was located in a place that was kind of hard to find. And he asked for the girl who drove an orange Volkswagen because she had delivered to them before and she knew how to get to their address.
Oh, geez.
Which, like, as soon as I said that, you kind of, like, looked up. You're like, red flag right there. And maybe it's because, like, he had that little note that this chick knew how to get to his house or whatever. But I would see that as an instant red flag. And maybe it's because we're women. I don't know. But I don't think I would ever request a certain person to come. No, unless you're a creep.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you are going to be creepy like that, anytime they ask for a chick...
Then you don't get that person.
No, you get the biggest, burliest, hairiest guy in the Domino's, and it's like, all right, John, you're up. You're heading out.
Go get him.
Yeah.
Here, you can take my little orange bug.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight, but...
Sure, absolutely.
Who knows? So that girl, like I said, she happened to have called out. So the manager sent Sherry in her place. Police quickly found that the callback number, it wasn't going obviously to the address that he had stated. And the address that he was given, that he gave to Domino's, wasn't even a real address.
Oh.
So, I mean, obviously, back then, you're not just going to type it in on your phone and it's going to say, no address found. It's going to be like, okay, you're going to find, here's the nearest cross street, you're going to head down this road, whatever. And it ended up taking her to just kind of a rural road that there really wasn't.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. Like, how did they even...
Doesn't that make it so much scarier?
Well, yeah, like...
We are so immersed in, like...
Technology.
Yeah. And if my phone doesn't know how to get there, I can't
go. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I mean...
That's crazy. And she doesn't have a phone to call, like, hey, I don't know where this house is. Can someone give me directions? Oh, that's horrible.
It's probably, like, what were they, Thomas guides? Those big books of maps?
Do you think they had that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Remember MapQuest? Like, you could
where you printed out the instructions or directions, whatever they're called. Yeah.
I wonder if that's now 82? Probably not even that.
No, definitely not. So, side note, when I first went to community college with major number 1 out of 17, I wanted to, you remember this, when I wanted to be an EMT.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my internship with an ambulance company. And this is probably, so I graduated high school in 2006. So this was maybe 2008, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And that's what they used, was a Thomas guide.
Really?
When we got calls. Yeah.
Wow.
So we were out.
2008.
Mm-hmm, when we were out on one call and we were leaving that house, we got another call and they pulled out the Thomas guide.
Oh my gosh.
Pulled it up. I mean, I would imagine that, like, most of them know where local things are. Like, they have their own route.
But you don't know every single little street name. And,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
So I can't even imagine what it was like in the 80s. Where? Okay, yeah, the address didn't exist. Okay, so they found out that the phone call actually came from a motel in the downtown Salem area. And the police went to the hotel, or motel, whatever it was. They searched all over the place. Nothing. They couldn't come up with anybody who could have possibly made that call. So Sherry's family was freaking out, which obviously, of course. And they were always worried about her being a driver because they thought like, yeah, she could get robbed, but they never thought that she could get abducted. The search started immediately. They didn't waste any time.
That's good.
Police questioned everyone in the area who could have possibly been a witness, and they got some info from a couple people who saw an older model truck that was seen in that area around the time, and they had estimated that Sherry went missing. So they have this description of this old truck, and it's whatever color, and that's what we saw.
That's all they get.
Exactly. So on July 6th, the police receive another call, and it's from Domino's again. So apparently this Dunbar guy called back after he had abducted this chick for 2 days. And this time he was stating that he would return Sherry safely if they had paid a ransom of $50,000. And then he said he would call back again in about an hour with instructions on where to drop off the money and where to find Sherry. So, of course, the manager calls the police and they set up a wiretap.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he knew that they were doing that, or maybe he was just messing around, or I don't know what.
Maybe it wasn't even him.
Well, I think it was him, because I don't think at this time they had released that this Dunbar guy...
he knew stuff that other people wouldn't
know. I don't think they released what he called himself, what his fake name was, or anything like that.
So there was proof.
Yeah, I think so. But he never called back. So that was kind of a dead end there. So the case started to go cold when police received a tip from a woman named Dawn. Dawn said that her brother-in-law could have been the man who they were looking for. Her brother-in-law was named Daryl Wilson, and he drove an older model truck that matched the description of the one that was seen at the scene of the crime.
Okay.
Scene?
I gotcha.
At the scene of the crime.
I totally knew what you're saying.
Also, he just so happened to have his truck painted a different color just a couple days after Sherry went missing.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not obvious.
That's not suspicious at all. And also, Dawn said that Daryl met Sherry at a barbecue that she had hosted just a week before Sherry went missing. Dawn, who was about 30 years old at the time, asked about Sherry as soon as she left the party because he was interested in asking her out. So we got connection.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Dawn was just spelling all of the details. She wasn't holding anything back. So they go and talk to Daryl. Daryl was a truck driver, and he was known to use acid, cocaine, and meth.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just
1, 2, 3.
Junkie sampler platter.
Wow.
Just a little bit of everything. The police had to talk with Daryl, and he had stated that he had never met Sherry, which also...
Lie.
Come on, Daryl. We know.
Yeah. Barbecue. Don't you remember?
Yeah. So they asked about Dawn's barbecue, and he said that he didn't remember ever seeing her there. And they just threw Dawn under the bus, and he's like, yeah, we know that you did.
Because Dawn told us.
Right. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I think maybe I remember her. So then they asked why he had painted his truck a new color. And he's like, oh, I just like that color better.
All of a sudden.
It brings out my eyes. They asked where he was the night of 4th of July. And he stated that he had gone camping with friends. Great alibi. For the entire weekend. And he didn't even come back until the 5th. So, of course, they talked to the friends, and they confirmed that he did indeed go camping, but Daryl had left the night of the 4th, and he didn't come back to the campsite until the next morning, which is not how camping works.
No, Daryl. Get it straight.
It's not how it works. The police spoke to Daryl again, and he admitted that he had lied, obviously.
Well, yeah.
And he said that he lied because he was doing some shady drug shit. So he was either out there like getting high or buying drugs or doing something like that, and that's why he didn't want to tell the cops. So that's his excuse.
So do I want to go down for drugs, or do I want to go down for abducting and possibly murdering a girl?
Drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the drugs, please.
Yes.
All of them. A little bit of everything.
I love the sampler.
The sampler platter.
Yeah.
The junkie sampler. So they ask him to take a polygraph, and he says no. And there's like all of these signs pointing towards Daryl at this point, obviously. So the police obtain a search warrant. But before they actually get to search Daryl's house and car, Daryl commits suicide.
Oh.
Twists and turns. We're going all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably not what you're expecting.
Uh-huh.
He didn't leave a note, but he had expressed to his friends and family that he was super stressed about the police investigating him. And that's, like, they kind of took it as an admission of guilt in a way.
Okay.
So the police kind of, like, settled down on their investigation because, like, they're thinking that was our guy and, you know, okay, that was the end.
Uh-huh.
They still searched his truck, but they didn't find anything that they were able to use to, like, directly connect him. They didn't have any hard evidence, but they figured, like, okay, he probably cleaned his truck out before, because he didn't leave a note. He doesn't want anybody to know and have that be his, like, legacy.
Like the last thing they remember.
Yeah. So, but they had a pretty good indication. Like, he was the guy. He was responsible for the crime.
Matter. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they had every reason to think that.
Uh-huh.
Except hard evidence.
Right.
But it kind of stops there. And this is where my ripple begins.
Okay.
Fast forward 20 years. We are now in year 2004 in Marion County, which is where Salem is located. And they had created a cold case squad. And that cold case squad was working on hundreds of cases that just were left with questions. And
left cold, if you will.
What?
Left cold, if you will.
Let's heat them up. Let's get them warmed up. So in 2007, the cold case group decided to reopen the case. After noting that there was no hard physical evidence connecting Daryl to the crime, and everything that they had was circumstantial, they decided to create a profile for the abductor based on, you know, criminology statistics and such and sciencey things.
Yeah.
They determined that a person who was capable of such a messed up crime as abducting this teenager.
Wait, can I stop you for a second?
Always.
Did they ever find her body or anything?
Mm-mm.
Nothing. Okay.
They did not find her. No.
Okay.
They determined that somebody who could have been capable of doing this would have, like, a serious criminal record of other crimes leading up to this. So, like, maybe, like, sexual assault or, like, you know, harassing people, whatever. Like, you don't just go from, like, doing drugs and then lead into abducting somebody.
Okay.
Daryl, he only had some minor drug offenses, maybe because he didn't get caught. Who knows? The cold case group decided to look for other similar cases in the area, and they found out that only a year after Sherry's disappearance, another girl named Katie Redman had gone missing after leaving a sorority party. So Katie left the party around 2 a.m. in her car, and later her car was found running in the middle of the road.
Oh, same way.
With Katie nowhere to be found. Yep, we have a connection.
Okay.
A few days later, her body was found alongside a river nearby, and the police were able to catch Katie's killer, who was Mr. William Scott Smith, a complete garbage bag of a human. He was convicted in July of 1984 for the murder of Katie Redman, and he had also confessed that he intentionally, like, how he got her is that he bumped her with his car. Mm-hmm. Like, he faked an accident. So she had to stop, and she gets out, and she's like,
snatched her.
And then he grabs her, and which is so, like, you talk about the whole pizza delivery thing being scary. Imagine driving home. You're driving home at 2 a.m. And or any time of the day for that matter. You have no cell phone. it's just like regular thing. Somebody hits you, you're gonna get out and, like, exchange insurance information. Oh, it's just so. Don't get out of your car. Don't ever get out of your car. It's crazy.
Wow, that he could even think of that though. Like, what kind of a mind does that?
Right. And the kind of mind that knows that the average person isn't going to think that you're a threat because you bumped them. Yeah, it's totally preying on just like
Good people.
good nature. Yeah, so he confessed that that's how he did it. And then he also confessed to the murder of another girl, Rebecca Darling. And Rebecca had gone missing after she was working at a convenience store on a late night shift. And her body, again, was found alongside the river nearby. So I'm not exactly sure how he got Rebecca, but I mean, it could have been something as easily as like, hey, can you help me get this out of my car or put this in my car, you know?
Or maybe he bumped her car too.
Well, she was working at a store that night, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. But something evil and just sickening,
Sneaky.
I'm sure. So the cold case squad went to question William, but since there was no physical evidence that they could use to connect him to the case, they're going to need him to confess to the crime. That's like pretty much all they could go off of. So initially, when they went to talk to him, he said that, nope, that wasn't me because he was driving trucks in Washington in 1982. So it couldn't have been him.
Mm-hmm.
However, the cold case squad went back in all the reports and they found out that that was like total bullshit because they had reports stating that William Scott Smith was pulled over and questioned in Salem just hours after Sherry was reported missing.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy to think because if it was just hours after, like...
Where was she?
Maybe she was in that car.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't read any reports, like, implying or, like, questioning whether that could have been a possibility, but it could have, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So the police contacted William's cellmates. So this is their new strategy. And they asked them if he had ever mentioned Sherry. And his cellmates said that, like, no, he's never mentioned any Sherry. We don't know who Sherry is. But, like, he's talked about this convenience store chick. And he's talked about, like, some other girl that he hit with his car. And then, like, some pizza girl.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he just never said her name.
Right. He never referred to... He probably didn't even know any of their names, really.
It's a girl in the orange
Yeah,
Volkswagen.
Exactly. Oh, wait. Wrong page. Hold on. Hold, please.
I saw you take 2 pages there. I thought you did that on purpose.
No, I didn't. Okay. So the police get the cellmates to wear a wire, which is terrifying.
Well, and it's kind of good they do that, though, because, I mean, a lot of, you know, their cellmates or whatever will make a deal with the police to maybe lessen their sentence.
Get privileges.
Right.
Yep.
And totally make shit up.
Absolutely.
So at least they're getting the proof this way.
I wonder what they would bargain for.
Cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, totally. Cigarettes. Top
Gym
ramen.
time.
Oh, really?
Well, if they're in a little 8x8 all day.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe
Phone
an
calls.
extra hour of Jerry Springer in the morning.
What's that called when people can come have sex with you?
Conjugals.
Yeah, those.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, but I would think that would be terrifying. But William is a big dumb idiot.
Good.
And he confesses on tape.
Good.
But they need to make sure that, like, he's, like you said, isn't saying that in order to, like, bargain for things.
Mm-hmm.
Because he did want to get out of that prison.
Oh.
He wanted to go to a different prison. Maybe one that had conjugals. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know. So they end up, like, telling him, hey, we have your confession on tape. You're a dumbass. We know you did it. If you want to go to that prison, you need to tell us, like, what happened. And maybe lead us to the body, whatever. Like, we need to prove that it was actually you and that you're not just, like, bullshitting. Because you're already in here on 2 life sentences. So, yeah, he tells them the story. And he said that he was with his friend Roger, and they called Domino's and waited for the driver. And as she was driving down the road, they flagged her down, and they're like, hey, we're the ones who ordered the pizza. So she got out of her car to grab the pizza, and as soon as she turned around to hand him the pizza, they grabbed her, and they threw her in the back of William's truck. William said that they took Sherry back to his parents' house, which was nearby, and then later took her down to the river where they killed her and dumped her body. William was able to provide the police with enough details that weren't released to the public to confirm that he actually committed this crime. And I think one of those details was that ransom call.
Oh,
yeah.
The Dunbar.
Mm-hmm. His friend Roger, unfortunately, died just months before the confession.
So they couldn't.
Bastard got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just super shitty that he got to live out his life and she didn't even live to see 20.
That's.
Yeah.
I wonder if he did other bad things too. Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
he
was a serial
way.
killer. He had, so he killed Sherry, and then a year later he killed Katie, and then like a couple months later he killed Rebecca. So yeah, the guy is a freaking serial killer, and there's probably others out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, they weren't able to find her body. That river, I guess, was known to like flood certain times of the year, so it could have been moved anywhere.
Yeah.
And they never found it. But my little positive spin on things is more about the cold case squad in Marion County. Since it started, they have solved 3 cold cases from the early 80s alone.
That's so cool.
Which is amazing to think that like they took the time to go back that far, like 30 years-ish.
But yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, forget it. It's just too long ago.
Right. And they've solved others as well. There's 3 of them that were in the early 80s. And I was going to tell you a quick little snippet on each one of those really quick. So one of them was the murder of Edward Jeffrey, who was found shot in the head in his driveway. And the other was Sherry's case. So obviously that was one of them. And then the third was Christopher Lee Scott, who was thought to have been a murdered child. He was only 2 years old, and his dad had him in the back of the car, and he ran into like a business really quick, like just run into the post office something really quick. He said he was like,
I'll be right back.
Right. Super, super quick. And he comes back and his son is unresponsive.
Oh.
So he starts to do CPR and was not able to revive him, unfortunately. And then the autopsy showed that he had this like weird red mark across his throat, and they classified it as a homicide. Like the dad went out and choked him. This isn't a kid who like got hot in the car or anything. So after I don't know how many years, but it was back in the early 80s.
Sure.
They were able to take evidence that they collected from the autopsy and send it to the state medical examiner, who actually determined that the death was accidental because Christopher was wearing a jacket with like cords around it, and he must have like reached for something or bent down or something, and
or
the
just
cord
twisted it hard.
The cord got caught, and he actually choked
himself,
somehow. Which is, I mean, it's super tragic and horrible. I mean, it's a 2-year-old. It's really, really sad. But now his dad isn't a murderer, which is amazing.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, those were just the early 80s cases. If you go on their website, it's actually really amazing because they have all of their solved cases, and they have like a write-up on each one of them, and then they also have all of their active cases, and they have like places to submit tips, and they talk about like what they do. Like they're sifting through like old files and reports and following up on leads that maybe weren't completely exhausted, but at the same time, they're going out and asking people today, like who may have never been talked to.
Well, and there's just so much new technology that they can apply towards these old cases as well.
Like the internet.
Well,
like freaking Facebook.
Like, let's start there.
Like Reddit. Like all of these places where people go and talk about like town gossip and stuff. And
that's super cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't have very laughy fun times tonight, but
I mean, interesting stories.
Yeah.
And finding that little bit of good.
Yep.
Helps, I think.
I'm sweaty.
Should we pick a theme gross for next week?
Let's do it.
Wait, you pick. I picked last time.
Did you pick last time? I don't even remember.
I did big box.
Oh.
I'm 12.
Okay. Here it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I think I have 2. Do I have 2?
No, it's just bent in half.
Oh, this is a long one. No, I do have 2. Oh. Okay, I'm holding this one more than the other one. It is Craigslist gone wrong. You don't seem excited. Do you not like that one?
No,
we can always pick a different one.
No, we can't. That's not how it works.
We've done it before.
The rules are we pick one from the basket.
No, like 2 weeks ago we threw it back and got a different one.
Craigslist. I can do it. I can do it. I totally can do it. Yeah, I just don't want to do like the Craigslist spreader, obviously.
There's several of those, I think.
Okay, I can do it. I'm gonna find my little.
Scares me.
I often wonder if it's still like a real thing.
It totally is because Mom uses it.
Well, hello.
Which scares the shit out of me.
Like, she sells her sheep on there.
I know.
Craigslist.
That alone, man, some stories.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna find something good.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so next week we'll be here.
Yeah.
And until then, don't forget.
Am I supposed to do like every other word or something? Or you're looking at me weird.
To be a fountain.
And not a drain.
Bye.
Goodbye.